How do you make sure that when your ideal client is ready to buy, that you show up exactly when you need to? Where social media may work for a lot of niches, selling to clients who have a short buying window need to be approached differently. In this week's Hot Seat episode, Daniel is struggling to connect with brides and grooms who are getting married in the coming year. Despite doing all of the right things, he's been struggling for 8 months to get clients. Jonathan helps Daniel figure out how to show up in exactly the moment his ideal client is looking for a solution. If you are not absolutely buzzing at the possibilities by the end of this episode, I will be shocked. I'll be back at the end to recommend another episode for you to listen to. Enjoy.
Daniel, what's going on, man? Oh, there you are.
Not too much. Things are all right.
Good to see you again.
You too?
So, you know the program by now, Daniel. Real quick, who you are, who you serve, and what we're talking about.
So my name's Daniel, live in Toronto, or just outside Toronto. Been a trainer for about 7, 8 years now, the past 2 to 3-ish online, kind of half and half online and in person, still in that setup. Things went online, during COVID, like a lot of us, and lost a whole bunch of in-person clients and moved significantly during that. Right now, I'm trying to switch and serve people who are getting married, or brides and grooms, people involved in weddings in the coming year,
Yep.
simply because that's me for this upcoming year, and I feel like my only avatar can be
Right.
myself and people like me, because I'm not good enough at being like giving a message that's not exactly what I am, to say like, hey, I work with stay-at-home moms. Be like, I'm not a stay-at-home mom.
Right.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, obviously, but for me, it doesn't work.
Yeah, sure.
And
I think it's it's valuable that you recognize that, and I think embodying your client and being the embodiment of your client, while not absolutely necessary, certainly gives you unique advantages.
I hope so. But and kind of where I'm like, I can't figure out what I've been doing wrong, or what I've been doing that's not working for the past 5, 6, 7, 8 months. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. And by doing wrong, it's like I have little to no steady influx of new
But
clients. Things appear to be good. I talk to friends and colleagues and people who are even in OTM, and I don't think anyone who's on the call currently, and they're like surprised at how not well my business is doing,
mhm,
which is an interesting thing for me to hear. But that's kind of where I'm at right
cool. You put up a post where you're kind of like shitting on the wedding industry.
now.
Tell me where that came from.
Just my very genuine feelings about the thing, and how much of the post, for anyone who obviously didn't see, was just about like a venue that we had gone to, where like the deal was just completely one-sided and pretty much a huge ripoff. That was just in the conversation in a podcast, um, and that was just very authentic, a very real feeling, and that was the reason I picked that clip from that podcast, was because I felt like it would do well, because clips that do well from podcasts are things that are controversial, or
Yep.
loud and emotional and whatever. And so it did as about as well as I thought it would do. It's getting people thinking about, okay, I'm in the wedding process. The first line
Mhm.
of that clip was, I'm in the process of planning a wedding, and
Right.
then went into the rest of it. That was
So that
that
was,
was
I mean, that was a very effective piece of content. I agree. And it certainly spoke to exactly who you did in a way that is unique and pointed and effective. Um, I guess part of the struggle with me, with anybody who works with the type of people that you work with, is you have a very short period of time to attract them, to work with them, and an even shorter period of time where they're open to hiring somebody. It's a really difficult market. If you think about somebody who decides that they want to get in shape for their wedding, they're going to decide and want to hire somebody basically that day. And then even if you can be the one who's hired, you're probably only going to have 2 or 3 months, maybe 5 or 6, but like probably only 2 or 3 months, and they're kind of by definition gonna want to go all out and then like chill out and get into their life. They're not like going to continue on after you with the wedding unless you worked with them beforehand and you're putting extra emphasis on it. It's a really hard market. The only way to do it is to sell very expensive transformation packages and really integrate yourself into a community of things like wedding planners, part of the industry that you hate, to be completely honest. Like we buy our wedding invites. I still remember this. Our wedding invites were postcards that were the exact same as wedding invites. But the website that we ordered them had 2 checkboxes. Checkbox 1 was design your own postcards. Checkbox 2 was design your own wedding invites. Same paper stock, same ink quality, same postcards. The wedding invites were 3 times more expensive.
And that's why I'm okay with being part of that industry, because I think it's a complete scam. But if they're handing out money to everyone, I'll gladly take some of it.
Fine. So the only way to do it is to do very, very, very high-end transformation. And know that the way to generate a business is not content, dude. Content is front-facing social media content is for people who are thinking about something for a long time, where they are aware that they have a problem, and you're talking to them for long enough that when they're ready to finally take action, or something happens that scares them or motivates them into taking action, you're the obvious choice for them. Something like preparing for a wedding, it's such a distinct moment in time where it's like nothing, 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 nothing right now. It's like eating an avocado. It's like, not right, not right, not right. Eat me now. Oh, too late. The odds that you're going to show up in their feed that day as a wedding expert are pretty low. It's going to be referral based through other people in the industry. It's going to be working backwards from blogs that already rank in Google for things like how to prepare for the wedding, how to lose weight to fit into my dress, how to whatever. I had a call, was actually part of research for the book, with a good friend of mine, my best friend's wife, who I'm also become good friends with, runs a toy company. It's called Barumba, Barumba. And she has one product, which is a play couch. And her tagline is toys that do more. And she's brilliant. She was an accountant for a lot of years and burnt out and had a mental breakdown during COVID. And decided that she didn't want to be an accountant anymore and started a play couch company, as people do. And she actually has gained a lot of her market's similar to yours in a lot of ways, in that when people are ready to buy a play couch, they're basically going to buy a play couch. They're not like researching it for a long time. It's kind of a gift a lot of the time. She needs to be there as the choice when it's ready. And so she did what everybody did. She actually got a lot of press because her story is very inspirational of overcoming. She got a lot of press. She even won a massive grant from Visa called She's Next. And she built a TikTok account, which got a ton of views. But what she realized was that the views actually on her TikTok account were because apparently accountant is something play couch. It's like a big like couch bob that has a bunch of different cushions that can be stacked into forts and all this type of stuff and used in different ways. And so the word accountant is a word that sex workers use on dating sites to say their job. I didn't know this. I found this out. And so she called herself, basically, everybody on TikTok was finding her and watching her videos because they thought that she was a prostitute selling a play couch. Right. So yeah, she was getting a lot of views on social media. They weren't the right views. They were understandably disappointed when it was actually a toy. And so she changed tactics. And she started by just Googling review sites. So sites that already rank in Google and review these services. And she said, hey, can you add me to your thing? And she pre-wrote her section in exactly their format, and she sent it to them. And not everybody responded, but the first one that responded has now referred her $85,000 in business. And so she did it again with another review site. And that site in Q4, it's a relatively new one, has sent her $35,000 and 56 customers in business. And so she started to expand out, because there's only a few kind of sites that do this. So she started to expand out into the same sites that are generating business. So there's 4 or 5 of them now that she has this review on there. And she knows which ones are sending her the most amount of business. So she's now expanding out into problem solution type content. So instead of just a review site, she's now looking at it and she's saying, what are the problems that people are going to that aren't yet ready for this, that I can be present for? So things like how to creative ways to keep my kids engaged when the weather's bad without sitting them in front of a TV. Right. And so she's getting these articles placed now on these same sites that already rank high in Google, that she already knows are sending her a lot of customers. And the nice thing about this type of content play is that it doesn't expire like it expires on social media. It sits there. And then she started to look at what other avatars. And so she's smart. Like I admire, God, she's smart. I offered her to take over Quick Coach right after she said this. I was like, if you ever don't want to do toys, take my software company and market it. But then she started to look at avatars, and her post-purchase interview showed her that a large amount of people who own tiny homes are buying her thing, and a large amount of oh God, what is it? Basically like support workers who work with kids diagnosed with ADHD are buying it. So it's the same process. She started Googling articles for people, people who are buying things in tiny homes. Hey, the 10 things that you need to have in your tiny home if you have kids, and sending them stuff in that format, right? Make it easy for them in their format to add to it. And she did the same thing with ADHD practitioners. And then she actually went and scraped the entire directory of the ADHD practitioners in Canada and the United States and just cold-emailed them. Every single one of them. And then she took all of their names and put them into a custom audience on Facebook and is sending paid traffic to them. That's it. She doesn't use social media anymore. Not saying you shouldn't use social media, but you see how it's the same effort, but with an understanding that you need to be there where these people are when they're ready to buy, versus posting for your type of market, right? Like if you want to stick with that market versus
this is like brand new, this market to me. This is not something that I've been going after for a long time. I mean, for forever. I didn't have an avatar or a person that I was going after. So this is the first thing that's felt like, oh, this is specific enough that feels like it fits me. But I agree with you that it is like it's very instantaneous, the decision process. And so maybe
Yeah,
not doing it on social media, but doing actually more like local marketing and getting in touch with, the people, the vendors and whatever, the people around here,
maybe,
um, is
maybe.
a way, or just completely abandoning the idea altogether.
I mean, it might be a way with vendors. I would expect, I don't know. I mean, try it, test it. I would expect that vendors in this industry are pretty shut off to this type of thing just because they probably get a lot of people reaching out to them wanting to, like wedding planners and whatever. So I wouldn't just approach them and say, "Hey, can you refer me?" There's got to be other ways in to like build relationships with them very strategically. And I don't know what that is. I mean, even just like interview them on your podcast. Like that's one of the best sources of a podcast. Interview them, and that's a great way to at least build a relationship with them. See what
Yeah,
goes from there. Um, but yeah, it's this process of working backwards from people who already are found when somebody's searching.
makes sense.
That
And I
I
think that's
think,
what I was doing like before. That's what I was trying to do, was to be the guy that's in your face, that like when you're ready, here I am. And now I guess my bigger idea was like I've been doing that for enough time for the
yeah,
small audience that I have, and like me and my age demographic and the people within my circle and second circle are all in that stage of life. And so if you've been following me from that we went to high school, or you're a friend of a friend or whatever for
sure,
a couple of years now, and you're in that stage, like, oh yeah, I know this guy, like let's do it. And that's kind of been my, like, this is my like fast play or attempt at a fast play,
yeah.
versus everything up until
I
now has
think,
been like a let's,
bro, I
10
think
years
it's a
play, but
killer
it's a
market.
little too slow now.
Yeah, I think it's a killer market, but you're right. I mean, I had like 2 years where I was at a wedding every weekend, sometimes 2 weekends. And I think I went to the first wedding that I've been to in 5 years last year. It's just like you get to the point where like one of your buddies gets married and everybody's friends, and then you're like, all right, shit, I guess I gotta propose now. And then like 3 years later, one of your first buddies has a baby, and you're like, ah, oh, you jerk. Because then it's just a. But once that's passed, I mean, it's passed, it's gone.
Yeah.
So I do. Yeah, I'm excited to see where you go from there. I love what Sarah's doing with Balloomba, and I think that there's a lot of lessons to pull out from that with people in markets like yours that are very much when you're ready to ready. Call it like avocado buying. I'm gonna use that in the book, I think. All right. Well, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Amber again, thanks for listening in. This episode was from a group call from Jonathan's online trainer mentorship, where we host hot seats every 2 weeks. The mentorship is where we take anyone doing from $1,000 to $20,000 a month or more and help them scale up. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in learning more about, please DM the word mentor to Jonathan on Instagram at It's Coach Goodman. If you're looking for another episode to listen to right now, I'd recommend episode 165, Managing the You're Too Expensive Objection. When you're already questioning your prices, it's soul crushing to hear you're too expensive from a potential client. In this episode, you'll learn the perfect 3-part response to hearing you're too expensive, along with a few questions and phrases to help you prevent it from happening in the first place. Again, that's episode 165, Managing the You're Too Expensive Objection. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you next week.